seats, racing fans, because we've got some double-barreled racing action for you this week. Act 1 will be staged right here at Ontario's famed Mosport Park. Act 2 coming to you from one of Canada's fastest and most beautiful tracks, Westwood in British Columbia. Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Paulson, and I'll be your host for Eastern Racing Action. Our special guest commentator, and as a past competitor, a man who certainly knows Players GM Racing inside and out, Paul Gilgan is standing by to bring you the Hot Shoe Express from the West. And of course, our regular commentator, Paul Chater, will be with us for both events. Now, let's get right down to it. 2 championships are on the line. This week, it's the East and West Finals in the exciting Players Limited GM Motorsport Series from Mosport Park and Westwood Motorsport Park. The Drivers' Championship, or rather championships, since there's one for the East Series and one for the West, is really a prize that only a few exceptional drivers can aspire to. And as you can imagine, the competition is fierce. In fact, going into the last race, it's also extremely tight. Now, what happens today here at Mosport, and of course at Westwood, will establish our 1989 champions. In the East, fellows marginally ahead of 2-time previous champion Richard Spenard, and wants this title very, very badly.
He wants to win the championship real bad, and he knows if I qualify ahead of him this weekend, I have a good chance to win the championship since I always beat him here. So he's going to do everything he can to go as fast as he could in the qualifying, and I think that's what happened yesterday, and it bit him.
Well, we left the pits and it was dry. Sprinkling rain on the back straight. Through 8, 9, and 10 and onto the front straight, it was perfectly dry. And it was sailing into corner 1, and it was wet. And it really is, we got a bit of rain on the windshield, but the distance between corner 10 and corner 1 is not a whole lot. Yeah. And I hit corner 1 and it was wet, and I did my best to hang on, and I went broadside into the tire wall down on the bottom, and it was a real hard hit.
Yeah, exactly.
I bit my tongue.
No, you suffered a little more body damage than
that. Yeah, turned the car over and came down on the roof. It was a good hard hit.
Well, after flipping his car when it suddenly rained on day 1, Ron Fellows needed a good day 2 qualifying session, but it stayed wet. And even though he gave it everything he had, Ronnie could not dislodge Richard Spenard from the pole, giving 15 points and the upper hand in the championship to Spenard, whose time, set while it was dry on day 1, wasn't even threatened on a wet day 2. Now, let's go to the West for a championship update. Here's Paul Gilgan.
Thanks, Jim. Well, here in the West, we've got a tight 3-way battle for the championship. Perennial champion Frank Allers is making a strong bid to make it 3 in a row. But he's facing major heat from Trevor Siebert of Williams Lake, BC. Trevor is the series rookie sensation who has already wrapped up Rookie of the Year honors. And although 39 points back of Frank Allers going into this final race, he remains a serious threat for the Western Series title.
When I first came down here this year, I set my goals on being in the top 10, and then after the first qualifying session in my first race here in Westwood, I qualified 7th, and then I believed, well, gee, maybe I can finish in the top 6, and I might be able to make it to that final back east. And so I've been quite surprised with what's happened this year.
Also not to be ruled out is Edmonton's Kevin Dowler, who's improved remarkably from his 17th place series finish of a year ago.
Well, we were going for number 1, of course. We needed the 15 bonus points to, to give a good run for the series championship. That failed, so we were trying for the first row. We ended up 15 100ths of a second behind Orville Murchie, which put us in the 4th row. The inversion is good, but today it's not so good.
Well, those 15 points would have been nice, but I see you're following a pretty fast guy up through traffic.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'll either follow Frank or he can follow me. I'm easy.
I have a small lead going into the race here, so I don't really have to take any big chances, although I would like to win the race.
As exciting as this East-West final is going to be, there's even more excitement just down the road. Now, for years now, the Players Limited GM Motorsport Series has been one of the best, most lucrative racing series in Canada. But the top Western drivers and the top Eastern drivers have never had a chance to establish who really is the best nationally until now. It's called the Shootout. It'll take place at Quebec's Mont-Tremblant race circuit a week from now, pitting the top 6 Eastern drivers and the top Western drivers against each other in a $50,000 race. $25,000 going to the winner, and that's the largest share ever awarded in a Canadian Pro Series race. And to the winner, of course, there'll be some bragging rights as a national champion as well. Most of those top 6 positions, East and West, have already been decided, but a few of them are still up for grabs, and they will be decided today.
Thank you, Jim. Well, as we count down to track time, rookie Ken Wilden and veteran Mark Dankos know what they have to do today. For the other drivers, the strategy depends on their outlook and their position in the point standings. Richard Spenard has the confidence of a man never beaten on this track, and Ron Fellows needs a miracle to gain the championship he wants so badly here today. And as the cars move off the grid for the pace lap, here are the starting positions for this 1989 Players Limited GM Motorsport Eastern Series Final here at Mosport. We'll be back with the green flag right after this. Welcome back to the Players Limited GM Motorsport Eastern Series Final. With the inversion of the top 6 qualifiers, Robin Buck is on the pole and series leader Ron Fellows will start 29th. Here's Jim.
And here they come out of the final corner for the start. We are now anticipating the green flag. It waves, and we are racing in the Players Limited GM Motorsport Eastern Series Final at Mosport. There they go.
Kenny Wilden sprints into the lead, and something's happened back in the pack. There's debris flying everywhere. It looks like one of the marshal's towers has been taken out. There's a full course yellow flag situation now as the drivers must use caution. No passing allowed. Through corner 3, and the black flag is out. This race has been halted momentarily because of the damage at the pit exit area. In replay, here's what happened. The field moves up to the green, and there on the right, the number 63 car of Don McDermott gets sideways. I think that's Cat Teasdale, number 3, with him, and they're into the barrier and the marshal's stand.
The assistant start stand was hit. Both of the starters are okay. One's gone for attention, but they are okay.
McDermott's Geranium Holmes Camaro is an obvious write-off, and there's Cat Teasdale. From that, we take it she's out of the race as well. Well, it certainly was difficult for us to see exactly how all that happened, and it'll be up to the race stewards to work it all out. Thankfully, no one was seriously hurt, and the cars are being brought back into position on the grid now. This large 32-car field has just been reduced by 2, and it'll take a while to clean all this up. So as the drivers reset their adrenaline levels, here's Jim.
So McDermott and Teasdale involved in the incident right off the top in corner 1. The corner worker injured, taken to the medical center. They'll be okay here at Mosport. But Alan, I can't believe the drama that has developed in so many areas to wrap up our season.
Well, that's typical Players GM Motorsport Series. I think we managed to. They're starting to call us controversial, and I think Canadian Motorsport now we're just newsworthy, which is kind of nice. Unfortunately, due to some very strange weather conditions here at Mosport Park, Ron Fellows rode his car off. His competitor, Richard Spenard, now appears to have a pretty big edge. He's the fastest qualifier, and Richard is faced with a set of circumstances that require him to finish at least second or to finish third and lead at least one lap for the championship. If he can't do that, then Ron Fellows is almost going to get a buy into it, and Richard's going to have to work for it.
Yeah, it reminds me of last year, Alan. Seems to be it went right down to the last event as well.
Well, it went down to the last event, but it was a little closer last year, and Richard was able to pick up some points in qualifying. Ron made the wrong tire selection, wasn't able to catch him in the race, and Richard won it.
But in Western Canada, Alan, there's drama as well in their final event of the year at Westwood today.
Absolutely. First of all, will Frank Allers repeat as champion, 3rd time in a row? Big feather in his cap. Frank is an excellent driver. He's got competition from 2 very determined, not quite so experienced individuals in the form of Trevor Siebert and Kevin Dowler. And the other fight we've got going out there is who's going to come to the shootout.
That's right.
We've got John Simonson of Calgary and Andy Mahood of Vancouver, both of whom are trying to make that final shootout position, and they're separated by like a point or 2 points. It's going to be very interesting. They're going to have a real shoot there today.
East or West, we could not have written a better scenario, and let's get to it in our Players Limited GM Motorsport Series.
Thank you, Jim. As the cars form up for the restart of this race, let's have a look at Mosport Park, one of the most challenging road circuits in the entire world. 3.954 kilometers around. The track record for these Camaros and Firebirds, 140.060. They're coming off the end of the back straightaway now. You notice the red dots around the course. Those are our camera positions here today. Now, let's go to Jim for the restart.
All right, here comes the field. We're ready for the start of the final Players Limited GM Motorsport event in the East, and they've got a green flag. And this time, we watch the entire field go by, and into corner one. They're all away safely this time.
And this time, Robin Buck, number 34, has broken out on top, ahead of 25, Kenny Wilden, with 44, Rob Fellows in third, number 4, Drew Fazar in fourth, and number 10, Claude Poirier in fifth spot. Into corner 3, Poirier inside Fazar, gives him a little nudge, throws him sideways. Fazar's heading off the track. He's got it collected. He's back on. No, not quite yet. Here comes Dankos, and he nails him right in the front. Dankos spins right around. That's what a 360 looks like from inside one of these cars. Now with Ron Fellows, he threads his way through the traffic. Garbage, debris everywhere. A good piece of driving. His teammate Terry Betts waves him by. And now back with the leaders who probably don't know what has happened behind them, even those with radios, because the information will take a while to get to the pits from corner 3. Now let's have a replay here of the incident as Fazar swings sideways, heads off the road. He almost gets the car back under control and then flies back into the path of Mark Dankos. Now, with Dankos directly behind Beatty, he's not so lucky. Fazar gives him no room and no time. Hard luck for the Quebec driver, because that'll knock Dankos out of the top 6 and the shootout. And right now, Kenny Wilden is second behind Robin Buck. Rob Fellows is in third as the leaders are about to come upon the accident for the first time. Here inside with Richard Spenard through corner 3. He's trying to gain some ground on Claude Poirier as they come out of the corner heading towards the damaged cars. Spenard, bang, right into the back of Poirier, spins him sideways. Spenard up against the wall and smashes straight into Dankos' machine, which was sitting there parked. Now with Doug Beatty Jr., Spenard's shunt has caused more problems. Cars all over the road, debris everywhere. Beatty gets through, and there goes Ron Fellows up the outside. Emergency vehicles leaving the pit lane, and the black flag is flying for a second time, signaling another race stoppage. We'll be back with the restart after this. Well, the black flag is still flying here at Mosport as we await the third restart of the 1989 Players Limited GM Motorsport Eastern Series Final. With all the debris littering the track, the drivers are checking very carefully that tires and underbody parts are okay. At the crash site, you can see the pace car also took a hit. Richard Spenard's car is a goner, and Gary Werve, number 96, is also finished for the day. Drew Fazar's car, involved in the original incident, awaits a tow, and here's how Mark Dankos experienced the shunt.
Drew Fazar's car came across the track like perpendicular to the track, you know, right angle to the track, like if he was crossing a light. And he came across the track when I saw him came across, I mean, he was right there. So I just bumped into him, and that was it. There was no way to go, nowhere to go. It was like a fraction of a second. He appeared in front of me like magic, and that was it.
So the season and the shootout are done for the doctor from Quebec. Gary Werve won't improve on his best starting position of the year, and in replay, here's how the second wave incident happened from Richard Spenard's car. Coming in fast under the yellow, the front runner slow. Suddenly Spenard is bunted from behind and can't collect himself before hitting Dankos' car. It was in the second incident that Werve caught the pace car. Here's how the drivers saw it.
When I went past the accident, I looked in my rearview mirror and I think I saw Gary Werve go right through the back end of the Corvette, the pace car. So guys were not slowing down.
At the second start, someone went off behind me. I think it was Mark Dankos. Him and another car tangled. And after we came around the first lap, I saw the double wave yellow flags going into 3. So we backed off. But someone up ahead, I believe it was Richard Spenard, he just couldn't avoid it, and he went right into the middle.
He's still out there. His car is written off for sure. So we're going to see if we can get him in my car. We're not sure how the rules, how they work.
It's been a crazy weekend. It's one that I know I'm going to, once it's over with, I'm just going to go and forget about it and just chalk it up to everything in racing is never a surprise.
Well, Terry Dale has a decision on that, right? Yeah. So can we ask him what his reasoning is, why Richard has to start at the back?
Why don't you go?
Well,
yeah,
I don't have
any
time.
advantage. Even if I have to, I'll take his spot to start the race. I'll start at his spot.
Apparently, Richard will be allowed to start with his teammate David Empringham's car, but only from the back of the pack. They are changing the numbers now, but if Richard does elect to start from the back, I don't think there's any way even a driver of his skill can move into the top 2 and take the championship. Tense moments for Spenard as they check the rule books to see if he can, in fact, start this race at the back of the grid. No, the word we now have is that Richard has decided not to take Empringham's car. Here's Jim with a report.
Well, the race situation here in the east at Mosport is that we're getting set now for our third restart of this final run for 1989. Richard Spenard, with the crash, opts not to drive the Empringham car. He, in effect, forfeits the championship here to Ron Fellows. Now, let's see if we get a restart this time round.
Right, Jim, and for a third time, the field now reduced to 25 heads out on a pace lap. And even though the Eastern Drivers' Championship is decided, there is much more excitement in store, so stay right there. We'll be back. Welcome back to Players Limited GM Motorsport Eastern Series final action as we head for our third green flag of the day. Up front, Buck and Wilden, Fellows and Empringham, Poirier and Cadman. And there's the green flag, and we're racing once again here at Mosport. For a second time today, Robin Buck, number 34, puts his Pringles Firebird in front, ahead of 25, Kenny Wilden. Down through corner 2, Buck carries his advantage with Wilden, David Empringham, number 2, Rob Fellows, number 44, and the rest of the field in hot pursuit. Now into corner 3, and it looks like they'll all make it this time. And there's Ron Fellows, a blue and yellow Camaro on the inside, number 43, in an unfamiliar car, driving with verve. All he has to do to become the 89 Drivers' Champion is show up at the winner's podium. And since riding off his usual car in qualifying, he has been hurting badly. But it looks as though he'll still be going flat out. Number 34, Robin Buck, ahead of 25, Kenny Wilden, as they head up the long Mario Andretti straightaway. Because of the time delays caused by the accidents, which necessitated 3 restarts, we have been informed that this race has been shortened to just 10 laps, and that gives a big advantage to the front runners, especially Buck and Wilden. Into corner number 8 at the end of the long straight, heavy braking and a lot of opportunity to pass here. There's the distinctive number 14 Tide car of David Boyle, currently 14th overall. Now back with our leaders. Coming out of corner 10 and onto the pit straight, Robin Buck and Kenny Wilden are being closely shadowed by number 2, David Empringham, 44, Rob Fellows, number 10, Claude Poirier, and number 71, John Cadman Jr. Traffic is still thick and furious, heavy despite several retirements. And in this Eastern Series final, there is no quarter being given anywhere. Veteran Robin Buck is coming off a win in the previous race at Mont Tremblant and has had his Firebird in great shape the latter part of this season. Ron Fellows, number 43, is showing the spirit of a champion as he continues to carve his way through the field. He's now in 12th position. Robin Buck is under continuous assault from Kenny Wilden, who has already wrapped up Rookie of the Year honors, and thanks to the Mark Danko's forced retirement, now finds himself in 6th place for the season, and with a ticket to the $50,000 shootout. Ron Fellows swings through Moss Corner like a man with a mission, driving the only way he knows how, right on the limit. At the end of the back straight, Wilden drops out from the draft, under braking, and moves alongside Buck. Rob Fellows makes an identical move on Empringham. Empringham holds off Rob Fellows, but it looks like, yes, Kenny Wilden has been successful in his pass attempt and now leads this Eastern Series final ahead of Robin Buck. So our top 4 are now 25, Kenny Wilden, 34, Robin Buck, number 2, David Empringham, and number 44, Rob Fellows, and they are beginning to open up some room ahead of the rest of the field. Number 11, Doug Beatty Jr. is off the track. He's punched that left front suspension right back inside, and he's going to limp the car into the pits. Looks like that'll be it for the Esso Sony driver today and for his season. To the race action through the compression into Moss Corner. Kenny Wilden is showing the talent that made him this season's rookie champion, but Robin Buck won't let him shake loose. And speaking of loose, there's 99, Howie Scannell, doing a 180, almost up against the wall. No damage, though, and Howie, another rookie, gets back into it. And now Kenny Wilden, big sideways through corner 10. Robin Buck slips through on the inside, and now David Empringham, he slides down and he gets by on his way into corner 1. So we have a new leader, and Rob Fellows has also pounced on the rookie's mistake to take 3rd, dropping Kenny Wilden from 1st to 4th, just that quickly. Now, even though Wilden normally exhibits the poise of a veteran, that was a rookie mistake. The pressure from behind made him try too hard, too much, and Robin Buck, David Empringham, and Rob Fellows knew exactly how to exploit that momentary advantage. Number 43, Ron Fellows, continues to have his foot hard into it. And he's now passed number 70, Ian Phillips, into 7th place. A remarkable drive. This has been a somewhat strange race, to say the least. First, the wet-dry qualifying conditions put some drivers at the front, Drew Fazar and Gary Worm, who wouldn't normally be there, while dropping others, notably Ron Fellows, way back. Then, in the second restart, we lose last year's champion and the man who had this year's championship almost locked up, Richard Spenard. But the drivers currently up top deserve to be there. Buck, Empringham, Rob Fellows, and Kenny Wilden are all very good, capable of running with the best anywhere. As they come through the final turn towards the checkered flag, Robin Buck looks up at the starter's stand, and he gets the signal of a very deserving win in the Players Limited GM Motorsport Eastern Series Final. In second, David Empringham, Rob Fellows is third, and Kenny Wilden comes home fourth. The leaderboard tells only half the story of this strange race. Robin Buck, the winner, climbing out of his car to receive the congratulations of his crew and sponsors. And now to Ron Fellows, our 1989 Eastern Drivers Champion, getting a warm greeting from 88 champ Richard Spenard. You think race drivers are unemotional? Just look at Big Ron. Now moving over to share a moment he thought would never come with his brother Rob. What a roller coaster weekend for Ron Fellows. Coming into this weekend, he seemed assured of the title. After his qualifying accident, it looked like the title was gone. Then Richard Spenard had to retire. The title again became Ron's, and the Sunoco driver certainly deserves the honor he fought so hard for. With the Eastern Final race winners and our new 1989 champion on the podium, here's Jim and Ron Fellows.
I have to thank all the people from Sunoco that are here, Mackenzie Financial, the president's here, Applewood Chevels, my family's here, all of my crew guys that did a super job all year, and finally!
Our champions, come on, a big hand for all of them today here in Mosport.
2 times you have to watch
Well, what a finish to our Eastern Final, and we'll continue with Players Limited GM Western Final excitement from Westwood, BC after these messages.